Oh, what's up everybody? I'm Matt Gary, and on this episode of Coding with the Force, I'm going to show you how to create JavaScript modules so that you can create utilities that can be used in all of your Lightning Web Components. Alright guys, so just like with every other video I do, let me explain why you would care to create a JavaScript module as kind of a utility that you can use in a bunch of your Lightning Web Components. So to make this maybe a little more familiar to people, let me break it out this way. In Apex, hopefully, you are using utility classes. And in those utility classes, you could be doing a number of things. So maybe in a utility class, you are doing error logging. And by creating that utility class and doing error logging just through that utility class, you save tons of lines of code in other places. And you also make sure that your error logging is done consistently, the same way, everywhere. Yeah, so if you need to update the way that you log errors or add something to the way that you log errors, you only have to go do it in this one place instead of every single Apex class that logs errors. There could be hundreds of them. So by creating these utilities, you just have one point of reference that you can go update and deal with, and it makes your life easier and you hate yourself a little less the next time you have to deal with your code. The other theoretical scenario is, what if you have a bunch of pick list values that you're constantly messing with in the code? You have like 200 different places where you're updating pick list values, and you want to create a utility class so that you only have one point of reference to that pick list value string in your code. Well, you'd create a utility class, put that pick list value as a string in there, and then even if you reference that pick list value 5,000 times in your code, you've only got to update it in that one class. Makes your life a lot easier. And so you would ideally want to do those same kind of things in your Lightning Web Components as you did in your Apex class. You would create these kind of utilities so that you only had to do them once, and you only had one point of reference in your code base to go update and deal with them. That way you have way less code. It makes your life quite a bit easier when you return your stuff in the future, etc., etc. So now that you know how to do that, let me show you the different ways to do that, or how to set this up rather in Lightning Web Components. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a Lightning Web Component, and we will call this I don't know, I guess we'll call it util module. Hardest thing is naming things, right? Maybe for some people. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do with this Lightning Web Component that we've just created is we're going to delete the HTML because we don't need it. There it is. Also, if you're not familiar with the code editor I'm in, this is called Visual Studio Code. If you don't know how to set it up for Salesforce projects, I've got a video for that. Go check it out. People like it, I think. It'll hopefully help you get up and running pretty quick in Visual Studio Code with Salesforce. Okay, so we have deleted that HTML file, and that's good because we don't need it. It is completely useless to us at this point in time. So the next thing that we're going to do is delete all of the code that comes kind of pre-baked into your Lightning Web Components JavaScript file. And we're going to basically create our own stuff. So what I'm going to show you how to do is create exports that you can then import into other Lightning Web Components. And I'm just going to show you a variety of ways to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is say, I'm going to show you how to export just a single variable if you wanted to. So we'll say maybe this module is just a whole bunch. This JavaScript module that you're creating, or ES6 module if you'd refer to it that way instead. Maybe this one we just want a whole bunch of different strings available to us. So if we wanted to just export a bunch of strings, we could do export const. Maybe we want a open status string, and I would actually prefer to refer to this as open status. There we go, and call this open. Set it equal to open rather. So what are we doing here? Basically, what we have done is we're declaring a constant or a variable called open status, and we are setting it equal to the value open, and we are exporting this as a we're making this available through an export statement to be imported into other Lightning Web Components, which I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, so what if you don't just want a bunch of variables? What if you want maybe some functions? You can do the same thing by saying export function, and maybe we want this function to show an error, and we'll have this function return this is an error. Cool. This basically, you'll be able to call this function by importing it into your Lightning Web Component, and it will return that this is an error statement. You can also, if you wanted to, send it an error. So you could send it, pass it some variable and have it output as well, or manipulate it in whatever way you wanted to manipulate it. And one of the coolest things that I personally love to use anyway is you can export classes as well. So maybe you want to export you want to create an entire class and make it available for your other Lightning Web Components. So maybe we would say, I don't know, we'll export the class and we'll call it a util class, and we will maybe we'll just create a variable called maybe new status, and we'll create a function in here, and we'll make the function maybe something like show console log. Nope, I don't want to do that. There we go. Oh my gosh, stop auto completing weird things. And then for the console log here, maybe we can just do console.log. This is the console log. Okay, so and then what this will, did I spell this wrong? No, it's fine. Okay, so what this will do is it'll export this whole class, this util class that I've declared here, and it'll allow us to grab the new status from it. It'll allow us to grab this method and any other subsequent methods that we theoretically might have in here or care about. So it's pretty cool in that you could, declare a whole class in here and just export that one class and have all those different things available to you if you wanted. So we're going to save this, and hopefully it figures out that export statement up there and doesn't hate me for some reason. Okay, cool. It did. I'm not sure why it was throwing an error up there, but it doesn't matter because Salesforce still liked it. Okay. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is create a new Lightning Web Component, and we're going to import these things into our Lightning Web Component. So we're going to say Lightning, demo component. Did I already name something that? No? Okay, cool. And we are going to do the following. We're going to import what we just created, basically. So we'll create an import statement up here in the JavaScript file of our new Lightning Web Component. And we'll put some brackets here, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But we're going to import this from our Lightning Web Component that we just made. And to do that, we are going to do C/, utility, util module. Okay, and as you can see, util module is the same name as that JavaScript module that we just created just a moment ago. Okay, and we are going to import all the things that we just created exports for over here. So we'll say import open status, and we also want to import the show error, and we also want to import our util class. Okay, so now we have imported all these things into our Lightning Web Component. The next thing we're going to do to make this a little easier to see is we're going to create a few variables that we can assign these things to and look at the values so you can see that they did indeed get brought over. So we'll just say open status, and that's not what I want. And then we'll say returned error, and we will do a, what else did we declare in here? New status. Okay, so we'll also do new status, maybe. No promises. Someday we'll get it. Cool. And then what we'll do is we'll do a connected callback method. If you're not familiar with what a connected callback method is, it's basically the method that is called when your component gets loaded into the page. And so as soon as we load this component here in a minute, we're going to see this connected callback instantly get called and do what we're about to put into this method. So we'll just say that we want our open status to be equal to our open status. Okay, so now we're saying, you know, our open status was just that constant that we declared, just a variable. So and we've set our open status in this to the open status, which is cool. And I forgot the this. That's important. And then we'll do this dot returned error is equal to show error, and then I think we are sending a parameter with it, so we'll say tacos had an error, because that just makes sense. And then we also have our utility class. We're going to do a couple things with it. So we'll say first that our this dot new status, so the new status for our class, our Lightning Web Component class here, is equal to our util class dot, and I think it is called new status, but we'll just double check that. Yeah, it is. Okay, so this is equal to util class dot new status, and you can see that these, once you import them, they basically just become variables to represent the different things that you're importing. So you know, when I want the show error method, I'm saying show error. When I want that open status, I'm saying open status. And when I want to reference the utility class, I'm saying util class. And the last thing that we'll do, just to see it work, is we'll say util class dot, and then whatever I name this, show console log. So we'll do show console log. There we go. But I have done this wrong, so 1 second. We need to declare this just like a normal class, new util class dot show console log, and same here. You do new util class, and then we just need dot new status because this is just a variable, and this down here is a method that we're calling. Okay, so we're, you know, if you don't know how classes work and how to initialize them, they're the same kind of concept as an Apex. You need to initialize them with the new, and then you can call the methods within them. Okay, so we have this part set up. Let's go to the HTML. Well, actually, let's first save this, make sure I didn't do anything I wasn't supposed to do, because I frequently do it. Make sure it saves okay, and we're good. So let's go over to the HTML, and I'm just going to output a couple things. I'm going to create a bunch of p tags, paragraph tags, and that's enough, I think. And then we're going to import our variables in here. So what do we have? Open status, and we've got returned error, and we have the new status, I think, right? Yep. New status, returned error, open status. Looks good. All right, so to demo this to you, I'm going to use the local development server. If you have not used this, let me tell you, it is pretty cool. So let me make sure I've got the right command laying around here, because I am not going to pretend like I've remembered all of their commands. Local dev server LWC, and in just a second here I'll get it, maybe, if I can remember things. Yeah, okay, I don't even need to use the command line. It's been a couple minutes. There we go. Open local development server, and you're not gonna, if you've never used this which clearly I haven't used it in a few days anyway, because I'm forgetting things that are easy to remember. If you've never used the Lightning the LWC local development, it's this pretty cool plugin that Salesforce created for local LWC development. I will put a link to how to install this plugin and utilize it. It's very simple, pretty awesome. But anyway, that's not really what this is about. I'll create another video for it too, probably next week. So just so you know. All right, and our component that we just set up is called demo component. So we will open up demo component, see what happens. And this is pretty cool already, right? So we can see that, and we can also bring up our console just to see if it logged, the console log too. We can see that it did all of those things in our modules in our module that we built. It sent us back the open status. It sent us back the error message with the value that we passed in, and it sent us back the new status. And on top of that, it sent out a console log from the console log method we created. So that's pretty cool. And the coolest part about all of that is, if I wanted to, none of this code is local to just this Lightning Web Component. I could take this stuff and lift and shift it into 100 different Lightning Web Components if I wanted to. And in that way, I don't have to restart or reset all this code or rewrite all this code a whole bunch of times. I'll figure out the words eventually, maybe. Anyway, so as you can see, through that, through this, through the Lightning Web Component we just set up and ran in the local development server, all those things came in, and we're getting exactly what we expected. And we have these nice little compact, this nice little compact module that we could use anywhere. There are a lot of different ways to do export statements. These are not the only ways, so if you're interested in that, look up ES6 export statements. I'll put links in my blog post, I'm sure, to those things. And there's so much more you can do with this. These are just simple examples, but hopefully this helped somebody, and it will make your life developing Lightning Web Components a little easier. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to subscribe. Check out the blog post and more than likely the GitHub repo for all of this code and additional information about everything I've been talking about. And if you have made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.